Kia ora. Welcome.
Killer.
Yeah, it's episode 15 of the Third Pint Theory. I'm Michael Donaldson, your co host, and with me, as always, is.
Myself, Martin Bridges, also known as the Beer Bigwig.
Um, and this one's another one of our Beervana Q&As that we did.
Adventures.
Yes. So we're starting to get a long way removed from the actual Beervana event, but I don't think it diminishes the content. In fact, I think the content on this one, which was titled That's Not Beer, um, is actually going to become, I think, more applicable. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know if you agree, Martin, that we're seeing more and more products that well, your father's still alive, but I know my father, who's passed, would not have identified as beer. So,
No, no, and you're, I think you're right. I'm not sure if I'm happy that you're right,
yeah,
um, but yeah, there are so many of these. Like smoothie sour is kind of the
yes,
classic descriptor.
mm,
Um, and we're seeing them from New Zealand breweries, and we're also seeing them imported. There's been quite a few of the one drop beers
one drop, yeah, yeah.
from Australia, which we can claim as Kiwi because they are Kiwis. They just
Yes,
live in Australia.
yes.
So in the same way as Pavlova, Far Lap, and all those things, they're trying to steal
Oh,
our
let's
stuff.
start that up. One drop's really a New Zealand brewery. It's just a
Yeah,
little offshore.
absolutely. You heard it here first, people.
um, and yeah, there's not just the smoothie sours, but the I guess the pastry stouts as they are known. And it's quite interesting in this chat which we have coming up, which features I think two of they're both the best and probably the most prolific uh, exemplars of this style, and that is George Duncan from Duncan's Brewing in Parapara Umu and Joe Emans from Three Sisters in New Plymouth. And before we jumped on here, I was just scrolling through Untapped and looking at Three Sisters' top rated beers. And on Untapped, it's actually quite hard to get a beer that rates over four, I reckon.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and they have lots of beers that rate well over four, in the 4.3s, which is a really good score. And the list just goes smoothie sour, smoothie sour, smoothie sour. there's dozens of them, and they're quite prolific. And Duncan's is much the same, possibly more in the pastry stout kind of area.
Yeah, I think they certainly the pastry sours they've got quite a few of, and I remember the raspberry ripple was probably the
Yes,
first one that certainly made a splash. Um, but yeah, they've probably got maybe more of a balance between the pastry sours and the pastry stouts in the Duncan's stable.
yes, yeah,
A lot of great creativity um, in just how can you bring these flavors together. Um, and that was the thing I really enjoyed from the chat that we had at Beervana with these guys was really getting some insight into how they go about making these beers. Some of the process because they're not easy. It's not as simple
no.
as you chuck a whole bunch of fruit and lactose in a tank and away you go kind of thing. There's quite a lot to it, and I thought that was a really
Yeah. Look,
good.
I think one of the most remarkable things about this style, to call it a style, this trend, especially in the smoothie sours, is that creation of balance around these flavors. Because I don't know, it could just get really out of hand in one direction or another.
Yep.
And I think for people who haven't tried these, it's sort of a little bit annoying that the term is smoothie sour because they're not that sour. They're
No.
invariably quite sweet and
Yeah, there is
fruity.
there is there is a bit of tartness to them, and I
Mm,
think that is brings that balance. I think if they were just all the sweetness, then it wouldn't work. If they were all the sourness, it wouldn't work. It is, the textural elements, and the fruit and the sour, and
mm, mm.
uh, I think they're I think they're really quite a hard style to get right, and these two brewers, are on the top of their game at,
Yeah,
at,
yeah,
at
yeah.
doing that.
Look, I went to here in New Plymouth recently to the Mountain Ales Festival, which is put on by the remnants of Sober. I think there's a couple of, for people who don't know Sober, the Society of Beer Advocates, now defunct. But there are a couple of pockets that kind of live on. Dunedin, Taranaki, a little bit in the Hawke's Bay. There might be a few in Christchurch who still hold on to it as well. Anyway, the remnants of Sober put on this festival, and honestly, one of the beers of the show was another Three Sisters one, and it was called Space Juice, and it was described as mango vanilla ice cream smoothie sour. But what set it apart was that a lot of these are orange, very bright orange. The raspberry ripple from Duncan's is a little bit pink. Um, this one was green. So they achieved that by putting in blue spirulina. So blue spirulina against the orangey mango created a green color. And it looked alien. But honestly, it was so popular, and everyone was saying how much they loved it. Had this really lovely carbonation, sherbety, yeah, just super flavoursome. But always with me, I will enjoy one. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
not going
I
back for lots.
I think that's the thing, and I would love it actually if when they're packaging these things, they would package them in 330s rather than 440s.
Okay, yeah,
I
good
I
point.
find a big can of the it's a bit of a stretch. I tried the talking of green beers. I tried the Double Vision Face Hugger, which was one of their Beervana beers, which was also uh, bright green. That was mango, guava, pandan, and I think they'd used butterfly pea flower
Oh, yeah, yeah.
as the greening agent.
Mm.
Um, and I bought a can for my wife to try because she is a big fan of the Duncan's pastry sours, and I thought I would let her try this double vision beer, and she did not like it.
Oh,
And so, therefore, I don't particularly know why she didn't like it. I suspect the greenness had something to do with
yeah,
it. I think there was
yes.
a. So I can't let beer go to waste. So I drank it, and to be honest, 2/3 of the way down the glass was a bit of a was about right for me. So I think
Yeah,
the
yeah,
breweries
good point.
put these things in 330s.
Please, there you go. Um, One more note before we cross over to the Q&A at Beervana, and it's just another cutesy story. Um, but Garage Project released their first ever smoothie sour,
Yeah.
which I couldn't believe it was their first, and it was called Buried Alive. Now, spelled Berried. Did you see this, Martin? Their
I
Halloween beer.
saw it, the Halloween
Yes.
beer. I saw it. I didn't buy it, but
Yeah.
I did see that it was out there. And I, like you, thought, no, that can't be right. They must have made one of these before.
No, the first one. But then they made a very ungarage project like error in that they used a name already in existence for a beer. Batch Brewing had a Buried Alive beer, which was a sort of a fruited beer, not a sour as such. And then, to their utter despair, they found that there was a brewery in Australia that had used the exact same artwork and the exact same name. Like when I say exact same idea of a hand
Yeah.
coming out of the grave clutching a fistful of raspberries. And so they had to pull their order to Australia because they couldn't have it going in there with what looked like a rip-off. But it wasn't. It was just like two artists independently came up with the same idea and the same name. And then I was talking to Pete Gillespie from Garage Project, and he said he went back and did a deep dive, and 122 breweries have used the term "buried alive" on a beer. So there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to naming these.
No, it must be really. It's getting harder and harder, to do this. I worry as well if anybody's using AI to generate these names. If they're all generating off the same kind of base data, we're all going to get the same stuff.
Yeah.
Time and time again.
I did note that talking of Three Sisters, and they're not the only ones that do this, but I was just Googling or untapping them. And I think it was the beer Joe bought to the chat at Beervana, and it was called Thixotropic. All one word, spelt something like THICCSOTROPIC. Thixotropic. Now, I don't think you have any worry about someone having previously used that name, but you never know.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, because a lot of breweries do rely on like music and, song titles, and bands get used a lot. They rely a lot, dare I say it, on kind of cliches around hops, and there are a limited number of those. So it is dangerous territory. Like there's of all the beers in the world.
But as you say, Garage Project are usually ultra cautious.
Yes.
In doing that, and then one sneaked through.
Yeah, it did. And this has happened. There are some breweries that trademark these things as well. There's probably another podcast to do one day about trademark wars in New Zealand beer. There's some interesting ones, and not just Radler. Anyway, shall we cross over to Joe and George talking about their not beer beers?
One of our guests is George Duncan from Duncan's Brewing, and he has just said he's on his way, so hopefully he's not far away. And we have Joe Emans from Three Sisters with us. And
hello.
We're just pouring Joe's beer now, and we'll start with that. Joe, can you describe exactly what it is?
Yeah, so this beer is called Fresh Fruit Thixotropic. So it started off as one of our other pastry beers called Thixotropic. And we've jazzed it up a bit extra for Beervana, but the Thixotropic beer is a pastry sour. There's a lot of lactose in it. It's got a lot of mangoes and passion fruit. It's a kettle sour. It's quite delicious and easy to drink, I think. It was already quite delicious and easy to drink. And then we added ice cream, and then we added some fresh mangoes to it as well. So now it's really easy to drink, I would say.
So how do you go about making a beer like this with all that fruit? What's the process? Where does the fruit get jammed in?
The fruit gets added in right at the end of fermentation. So we will kettle sour the beer. So we'll make a beer. We'll add a lot of lactose in the kettle. Then we'll sour the kettle. Then we'll ferment the beer using any yeast. It probably doesn't matter too much because you're going to add so much fruit in there. Then we add a hell of a lot of fruits in there and let that ferment too. And yeah, at that point, it's tasting pretty good, you know.
Yeah. A lot of people might be wondering why lactose. Like, what is the purpose of putting lactose?
It does. It's a good question. It does a couple of things. It's actually not as sweet as you might think, but if you add enough of it, it does add quite a good lot of sweetness and a lot of body to the beer, and that's what you're looking for in these sorts of beers. I mean, it's a pastry style, so it wants to be sweet. It's sweet to balance the sour.
Welcome to George Duncan from Duncan's Brewing. He has just set the record for running with a 2-litre jug of beer. Awesome. So I was going to give you a beer, George, but you're actually lactose intolerant. So yeah. So we were just talking about why you put lactose in a beer to start with, and Joe's explained that. Joe, what portion of your sales would be in these kind of beers?
Recently, it's grown quite a lot. It's mainly driven by China sales. They seem to really like these style of beers for us, or our style of beers. We're probably producing about 50% this style of beer at the moment.
50%?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. And having been in your tap room, and there's an extensive list if you ever go into New Plymouth, there's a huge variety of choice, but they don't make up 50% of the tap list.
No, that's right. So the tap list in the bar is probably only 20% sours, but that's because I actually like to make all the styles. Most of the styles of beer we don't produce in significant volumes though, so a lot of those you probably only really see in our bar or at a limited distribution. But this style of beer seems to be something that we're getting some good traction in a wider market for.
Okay. There was I guess, in the early days, these types of beers got a little bit of a bad rep in terms of possibly like cans exploding when the fruit's added late and it continues to ferment.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a problem there?
Unfortunately, yes. So, it can certainly happen. Yeah. So it's something you've got to be very careful of, I guess. Yeah, you're playing with fire a little bit, but it's fun to drink, so it's worth it.
So I think the advice would be, if you buy a beer like this, get it home and get it in the fridge as quickly as possible.
That's good advice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's the verdict on this? Delicious? Yeah. It is really delicious. We might save some for breakfast.
It's pretty good. In the morning session, we were selling it as a morning smoothie, so it was going down pretty well.
What percentage is it?
This is 5.5%.
Yeah, you do some bigger ones though, don't you?
Yeah. We go up. We've done some 9% sours, 10% sours. This is a nice sweet spot.
So, I'll start with you, Joe, and then we'll throw across to George as well. Where on earth do you get the ideas for beers like this?
Well, a lot of the time you look at what works well in a smoothie. Makes
Right.
sense. If it works well in a smoothie, it'll work well in a smoothie sour, pretty much, But a lot of, just combining lots of different fruits. And a lot of the time you're sort of just going out to the market and saying, what fruit's available and what can I actually find? Because you're actually using it in quite significant quantities, yeah.
So, are you using kind of whole fruit or puree or what
It's
sort
mainly purees, mainly for the convenience.
Right.
Yeah.
easier to get it into the...
Easy to get it into
Into
wherever
the
you're
tank.
doing. Yeah, we've done it. We did early on. We did a few getting the team to cut up stuff, it soon gets very cost-effective. Not cost-effective.
So, George, you have also got a bit of a reputation for some of these
Dessert-style beers?
Dessert-style sours, and we'll talk about dessert-style stouts in a minute, because that's what we're pouring from you. But again, where does that inspiration, where does the thinking process come from?
So, actually, like, there's a bit to that answer. So, initially, the Raspberry Ripple was the first dessert-style sour that we made, and it was kind of a way for me to recreate like the fruited lambics, the sweet ones, but it just turned out to be like something quite different. And then I looked online, and a lot of like the Northern Hemisphere breweries were going in this direction. Big fruited sours, playing around with like these different flavors, and it was just kind of a snowball effect from there. We started on the pastry sours before we went to pastry stouts. So that's kind of where we live.
And on a personal note, Raspberry Ripple is my wife's gateway beer. It was my wife's.
Gateway
my
beer.
wife's gateway beer.
Oh yeah, we hear that a lot.
Yeah. Is that a thing? You know?
Massively. Especially because like these style sours, like the ones you make, like they're not as sour. They've got a bit more sweetness to them, a bit more flavor. Like they're just so much more approachable to the everyday market. I mean, personally, like I love a good Candlon, and I love a good like heavy, really sour. But you know, that's not an everyday every person drink.
And is it something, I know in the tap room that people will drink a lot of?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy, yeah. Like people go nuts. Yeah, people just drink pints of them, and I mean, our main way of selling those beers is in 440 can, as I'm sure you guys are as well. So they are usually those like one beer goes, but like in the tap room, people go like all night on it. It's crazy. Just basically diabetes in a can, eh?
Because that's what I thought. It's like
that's sweet.
That smoothie sour is really tasty.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could drink a pint of it, and I don't know if I could drink 4 or 5 pints of it.
Just is that post ferment fruit?
We'll ferment it a bit. Yeah. But it's a lot of lactose in that. Yeah. And that one in particular has got ice cream in it as well, added post ferment. Yeah, and fresh fruit added post ferment. Yeah. So that's our. I was saying before you got here, actually, that's our. It's a pastry sour we made, kettle soured, fermented fruit with lactose. But then we've added, for the Beervana, we've added ice cream and fresh fruit to it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, George, we've started passing out your beer now. So, can you explain what this is and how is it beer?
I mean, it's barely beer. It's a pastry stout. It is the peanut butter choc slab. So we use cocoa husks, cocoa nibs to create the chocolate side, along with like roasty chocolate malts. And then the peanut is added as a defatted peanut powder that's been roasted. The beer sits at about 10%. And it has about enough sugar left in it to make a 5% beer. So it finishes, like for any of the train spotters out there, it finishes at 10:40.
Right.
And it has lactose as well. But to be honest, like a majority of that sweetness comes from a double mash that we do to really pack in the sugars.
Right, so there's a lot of unfermentable...
Yeah, heaps. Well, no, yeah. I suppose they are unfermentable, aren't they? Yeah.
So we should have probably done another kind of allergen declaration before this. Lactose and tree nuts. So,
Peanuts?
So,
Too late now.
Is actually seriously is becoming do you declare on the labels?
Oh, yeah.
What's in all these things? Is that
Oh, we put the full ingredients list on the labels.
right?
Yeah, and we declare the allergens, but yeah, we just chuck everything in because that's the easier way to do it.
Cool.
And we use some pretty weird ingredients.
So Joe, pastry stouts, are they amongst your arsenal as well?
Yeah, we've made some actually. We've got some here. We actually made a pastry stout collab with Brothers Beer, which was. This is partly why I'm in a gel suit actually, because we made quite a nice pastry stout. Actually, didn't have any lactose in it. It was just double mashed, really loads of residual sugar, added organic cacao nibs, cacao husks, and Tongan vanilla beans, and fermented it on cherries. And then for Beervana, I added ice cream and chocolate fudge to that. But I think it's quite a good. Both versions are pretty good, so you should go try them.
If anyone's seen the Three Sisters stand, it's got a jail. I just wondered if you might explain the very convoluted pun that you've.
So yeah, we normally actually on the front it normally says Reinheitsgebot jail on there. It doesn't this year because it's obscuring the menu behind, but. It normally says Reinheitsgebot jail. The reason it says that is because there's a German beer purity law called the Reinheitsgebot law, which is it's about 500-year-old law, which says that beer can only be made from yeast, malt, hops, and water. And obviously we're putting all kinds of other things in, and therefore deserve to be in jail. Particularly what I did to that stout this weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think in modern times you'd be thrown in the dungeon and the key would be thrown away. I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Has anyone got any questions that they would like to ask of either of these guys? So, what do we think of the peanut butter chocolate pastry stout? Yeah. And I think this is the bottom line with these beers: is no matter what, they're just beautiful and people love them. So, speaking of people that love them, you export a lot of this to China.
Currently.
And what's the preference there?
They like them very sweet. Actually, actually the Kiwi. It's interesting with this exporting. There's different palates. New Zealand has a different palate to the Chinese palate, and I've struggled a little bit with them because I found with the New Zealand market, you almost can't be too sour. People love sour here, whereas over there they can you dial back the sour? And I'm like, no. I can make it sweeter maybe, but not less sour.
Okay. And what about you, George? Do you have export?
Yeah, about 35% of our market is export. And yeah, these sort of beers do sell really well overseas, especially around Asia. They're just kind of fun and different, and the market wants them. I mean, it's a small portion of a very large market if you're going to somewhere like China or Japan, but there's always people who are into it. I mean, we import Omnipollo into New Zealand, so, that kind of says it. Those sort of beers, they travel well and people love them.
Yeah. And, there was a question. Here we go.
I'd like to hear about how New Zealand taste is changing. It felt for a long time that it just needed to be vastly hoppy, and I'm seeing the growth in the stout market, and I'd be interested to hear about your perception of that.
The growth in the stout, specifically stout market, or these sort of sweeter beers? Dark beers. The only growth we've seen is with pastry stout. We haven't seen it really with any other style. What about?
Yeah, pastry sours. Yeah, pastry beers actually. Yeah, there's growth in pastry beers, I would say, in New Zealand. Seems to be. And actually, seem to be a bit behind some other countries in the trend, I think. I think there's still a lot of room to grow. Yeah.
So, we have a question here. Then I have another question.
Why is it called pastry stout?
That's an Americanism, I think, isn't it? Really? I don't know. Dessert beer, I guess. No, yeah, it's like a pastry. Like pastries are sweet things you eat, and these are sweet things you drink. I think it's an Americanism.
I think it is.
I'm not sure, but
I think
yeah.
it is an American thing because I know when we think of pastry, we think of the stuff that goes round a pie.
Yeah.
And
Whereas-
that's whereas if you talk in a kitchen about the pastry chef is making desserts.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I think it arose from kind of the American market started it first. So that's a really good question. I think it's something that's just stuck. Everybody thinks we've got pastry stout, pastry sour. That means they're sweet. And I think that's really interesting. The question I had was, is there anything you've tried that's gone horribly, horribly wrong that you would never do again?
No. I mean, normally if you make something sweet or sour enough, it's going to taste okay, kind of thing. I mean, most things go together. I mean, there's some are great and some are okay. I don't think I've ever made anything where I've been like, there was one time I wasn't sure. I made the very first banana smoothie I made, and I added a load of matcha. Because what you tend to find is if it doesn't taste good, you keep adding stuff until it does. And then you're all right.
I mean, these style beers are pretty, they're pretty foolproof for us. We make them a lot. I mean, we have had beers that haven't worked out, but they're not usually pastry beers. It would be something where we've tried to do like a wild ferment or something that's turned into vinegar. And as Joe was saying, there is just varying degrees of excellentness about them. Like sometimes you make them and you're like, it's pretty good, but it could be a bit more. Oh, we did make like a habanero, Szechuan, and blueberry. That is I think it's really hot. Lou in the back would disagree. And that was not so much bad as more like polarizing. But people who loved it.
I think polarizing beers are not the worst things in the world because at least it gets people talking about what's going on. Were there any other questions? Yes.
So I know that adding lactose to beer was a pretty big boundary for a lot of brewers and breweries to cross. With that in mind, what do you think is the next thing that's going to be the big thing that breweries like yourselves dabble into?
Making cheap lager? I don't know. I mean,
that's already been done.
Yeah, no, the craft breweries.
It's kind of a really hard question because if I knew what the next thing coming was, then I'd be getting rich off that on the front of the wave there. So I don't know. It's really hard to predict what's going to come up and what people are going to want to do next. Well, there's all kinds of interesting products coming out all the time, though. Like, it's amazing, actually, particularly in hops, all the different hop products that come out all the time. And I wouldn't be surprised if you almost need someone to come out with that new product, and someone comes, all of a sudden brewers adopted, and it could be a whole wave of styles of things, but I don't know what they are. Mm-hmm.
You've just sprooked a little thought in my head. Do any of these beers have any hops in them at all?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we put hops in the... I like to put some hops in the kettle when I'm boiling the beer. I'm not sure if it's actually beer if you don't. I'm not sure, but... And actually adding hops in the boil actually does help coagulate proteins and things and drop some stuff out. So, I mean, we're talking really, really low IBUs here, 5 to 10. It's also quite useful to keep, even though you're souring, the hops do give you some control over what you're doing. So,
okay, you might get time off for good behaviour for putting a few pallets of hops in.
Yeah, we aim for about 5-10 IBUs for most things, as a minimum. It keeps unwanted there's wanted lactose and there's unwanted lactose. So.
Yeah. George, just with you, do you do any beers that are with no hops at all?
No, because then you can't sell it as beer.
Oh, really? Like
No,
that?
it has to have hops. Yeah. That's kind of the short of the long.
what's the minimal amount that you've put in?
I mean, I don't know, like a handful. I don't know. How much do we put in, Lou? Yeah, 200 grams and 1,000 litres is about as small as we can be bothered going.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it has to have hops to be beer, to sell it as beer. Otherwise, it's like a malt beverage.
Yes.
So there's that.
All right. Hey, we were remiss to say that if people don't know where you can go to the source for Duncan's beer, just up the coast at Parapara. So if anyone's in that area, call into the tap room. And as I said, you can find Three Sisters in New Plymouth. Well worth the visit. Great tap room. We've got 1 or 2 minutes left. And if there's no more questions from the audience, I would like to thank both George and Joe for turning up late on a Saturday night.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You guys, super, really entertaining. I'll let you get back to pouring some more crazy beers. Thank you.
Well, how about that then? That was entertaining and instructive, I think. It was, I think we answered the question, are these beers?
Yes.
They are, because they've got hops in them.
Yeah, they meet the legal definition, albeit with like possibly a single hop palette. But that is interesting that, that beer is one of these things that is still very specifically defined, is that it must have, a fermentable grain, hops, water, yeast, and that the hops are deemed so integral to it. And which makes me wonder what happens if you have to make or if you want to make a gruit beer.
Yeah. Can you call it a beer?
Yeah.
That's a very good question.
Yeah. You'd have to call it something else. Yeah.
And obviously we had to spring Joe from the Reinheitsgebot jail.
Yes.
To have that conversation, because it's true that if you apply that kind of template that beer is hops, malt, yeast, and water, and just say that's it, then life would be pretty boring, I think, after a while. And I do like a very nice German Pilsner that is absolutely down to those things. But it's nice to be able to have a chocolate peanut butter pastry stout from time to time.
Yes. Yeah. That chocolate peanut butter, chocolate peanut butter slab, I think, from Duncan's was delicious. I had that again post Beervana. I thought it was so good. So hard work, 10% roughly, I think, from memory. It's a big ABV.
And that's again in a big can. So that's definitely a sharer. That's that's one to share with friends. I think Duncan's do make a few of those big ones.
Yes.
Both on the sour side and on the stout side. So I think that possibly works quite well with some of those fruitier things. A little bit of alcohol to kind of carry the flavour a bit. But.
Yeah, but it is a really interesting time in the industry for this type of beer, because I think New Zealand and Australia seem to do these maybe a lot more than other countries. I'm not entirely sure, but there's a really strong export demand for these types of beers, which of course comes with a massive risk of sending potentially explosive cans. But there are ways around that, as was discussed. Gone are the days, I think. Remember the early days of these beers, and especially in the UK, there were lots that exploded. Because the fruit was continuing to ferment in the can, and it would just blow up, or you'd get.
I remember seeing photos of bulging cans.
So that doesn't that hasn't happened here and doesn't seem to happen. So but when you're shipping these into Asia, you do run a risk. I reckon it's anyway. That's we don't have to do it. We just have to drink them. So
that's our only task.
Yeah.
And to talk about them, and it gives us something to talk about. And I think it was I really enjoyed it. I thought that was a great little chat with two very entertaining brewers.
Yes. Yeah.
And we've still got more of those Beervana chats to come. So looking forward to dropping a couple more of those over the coming few weeks.
Yep, and of course, I think next up we'll probably do your visit to Sawmill, and hopefully by the time the next pod comes around, there'll be some really interesting news to share. I can just give you the old. Just watch this space. There's a few things happening, which I look forward to sharing, but I'm in the cone of silence right now. So, but stay tuned, people, because this is where you're going to find out stuff. That's for sure. All right, Martin. Really good. It was good. Like, this is so far removed from Beervana now. It actually sort of felt new. And, quite refreshing.
It's good to go back and listen to it again, actually.
Yeah. And what I did mean to say, it was another really good audience and informed questions.
Yes.
And one of them was about why do we call these things pastry stouts and whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like, when you get so used to it, you sort of overlook the reasons why, because there's not actually pastries in there. And
no.
But you know where they're going. I think dessert stouts and dessert sours is a good name. It captures it a little bit better than the pastry term, which possibly we inherited from the Americans. But
I think we did, like so many things.
Yes. So dessert beers, ice cream sours, smoothie sours, milkshake IPAs. It's all just as we said at the start, even when I started writing about beer, which is, 15 years ago, these were not terms I couldn't have, if you'd said pluck random words out of the dictionary that might be matched with beer in a few years' time. Smoothie and milkshake and whatever would not have been among them. Yeah.
Nope.
No. So anyway, we're glad they're here. We're glad you're here. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for listening. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Take care, everybody. Drink good beer.
Drink good beer, indeed. A motto to live by. Thanks, Martin.